Welcome back on the AM show, and it's time for the news review. I'm doing this together with Sweetie Abochi, and we also have one of our guests joining us in the studio. Kwesi Kwarteng is here. He's former PRO, Ministry of Education. Kwesi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
I'm okay.
You know how we're doing. What's on your mind this month? There's so much happening. Maybe you're going to the appointment committee. I don't know. What's on your mind?
No, I mean, I've been following what is going on in the media space. I mean, largely it's been the appointment. But I mean, aside that, from here, I'll just be going to court. Now I'm in opposition.
Yeah, I was about to ask. Once I saw how you were dressed, I knew you were heading to court.
I'm in opposition. I have to go and work and make some money. So.
Hey, I said, okay, you're in opposition, so you have to go and work and earn some money.
Yeah, but in government I was working, but now I don't have a job in government. I have to. So I will surely have to.
Do you know whom you remind me of? Or my neighbor when they are after working with Afra. Anyway, but since you've mentioned Parliament, just a quick thought. What do you make of yesterday, especially Oliver Barker-Vormawor, and what happened from the legal perspective and everything in between?
Well, let me be forthright with the whole thing. Apparently, I didn't have the opportunity to watch because yesterday the day was packed. I mean, from TV, I also have to move to the court and later subsequently to the firm. I was assigned a job by my senior. But of course, I mean, I am aware of the statement attributed to him. I also read some social media comments. I mean, on the face value, when I saw it, I felt it was quite, I mean, it could be defamatory, unless, of course, he's able to explain the basis upon which he made that statement. I understand he went there to apologize. Maybe unless, of course, maybe I get my details into it, but I understand he went there to apologize. But I mean, I also did not take time to really follow his appearance before the appointment committee because I have my own reservations about his style.
What are those?
I am of the view. I mean, I'm unable to repeat exactly what I met him, what he said, but I've met him in two different occasions. One, he was carrying a cameraman with him at the court premises. Of course, every move that he makes, the cameraman will have to take the videos and then subsequently, I'm sure they will post it. And there was a time too, I was entering the high court premises. Apparently, he had appeared before a judge and stepped out. And he made a comment that I just eavesdropped. I am unable to repeat here. And I lost it for him. So, I mean, even yesterday, if he was facing the White House committee, I was not going to watch on personal principle. I just feel that he's an attention seeker. I mean, without any disrespect to him, I just felt that that was what the whole statement was just structured to do, just to get the public attention. But I mean, in terms of the merits and the demerits of it, obviously, the Constitution also guarantees free speech. Particularly if you look at Article 21 of the Constitution, it guarantees free speech. I mean, even with the media people, Article 162 of the Constitution also guarantees the independence of the media, particularly with regards to the cost of your work, making speeches. Yeah. But of course, we also have to, at every point when you are guaranteed a certain right, whether free speech, it also have to balance or tally with some level of responsibility. Now that he himself has dissociated himself with his comments, I'm not sure I'll have the right to even go into the subject matter. But, I mean, these speculations...
He stood by one of the comments.
Which one?
Is the second one that purportedly was shared, I don't know whether by an MP or an NPP group, seemed to have taken him out of context. I'm reporting what he and his lawyer, Atsodaze, said. But the first one he stood by, but said that the intent wasn't what had emerged. So
which I want the difference. You know, for me, I am privy to the fact that he said the appointment committee has been taking money. Yeah. But I mean, beyond also the legalities of it and the fact that it's coming from, I think this is not the first time this matter is also coming up.
Speaker Bagman himself, though he wasn't speaker at the time, yes, he said this. When he was a member of Parliament, he had said something of the sort before, and it wouldn't even be only Speaker Bagman. That is not to impugn the work of Parliament, but it's to say that, like someone said yesterday, there's no smoke without fire.
Exactly.
I've seen a post by Daniel Yaudamelevo, which also suggests that if often the claim is that the appointments committee will sit and maybe after it is done with its work, some sort of consideration. You understand consideration?
Yeah, I understand.
Is given from the presidency. And Domelevo points to the fact that corruption is not just before, it can be after the act as well. So, but that is not in any way to suggest that members of parliament are doing anything.
But
These are just things out there. My final point, Privileges Committee. I think the Speaker himself waded into that. The Appointments Committee, per law, they were not supposed to be doing this, were they?
In terms of inviting the gentleman,
It's not in their purview.
no, I have.
It's the Privileges Committee that.
Apparently, I have not cast my mind to that. I've not had any reading to that. So maybe I'll defer commentary on that for now. Subsequently, when I have more information on that, I'm sure I can speak to that.
Let's get into the newspapers then. I have the New Republic. Samira's land baroness runs to court, seeks injunction against explosive tell-it-all story. Every day, the New Republic tries to shine light on some sort of conspiracy, something that's happening. I'm just going to skip this and go to From Red to Green. Ghana's $2.8 billion debt relief boosts economic recovery. Let's start from there. It says Ghana, led by Finance Minister Dr. Kieselatu Forson, has successfully secured $2.8 billion in debt relief after all 25 members of its official creditor committee signed a memorandum of understanding for this purpose. Co-chaired by China and France, the agreement provides much needed relief to Ghana amid an International Monetary Fund program. Just for clarity, this doesn't mean we've paid off these debts. The successful completion of these agreements will be crucial in restoring fiscal. Let me skip to the part where it says the debt relief secured under the G20 Common Fund, Common Framework is expected to provide Ghana with essential fiscal breathing space to stabilize the economy, rebuild investor confidence, and implement necessary reforms. There's a story here about Oliver Bakavomawo clearing the air, denies NDC link amid bribery claims and apology. Parents storm WAEC Kumasi office over what withheld results. We know that about 2,000 of them were there demanding that the results be released so that they can continue the admission processes and make their way to the universities. These three stories for your commentary.
Oh, parents storm WAEC office in Kumasi.
Yes. So WAEC withheld some results.
Yeah.
And parents and students together stormed to the place saying that their students are stuck. You know, you need your results to be able to proceed to the university.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's also happening in Kumasi.
Maybe that'll be my first bite because I work from the
Yes.
So, I mean, yes, it's quite unfortunate. I mean, when we were there we experienced those hiccups. The practice of WAEC, even though I do not purport to be speaking for them, but of course, from my work experience, they withhold certain results that they believe that there are issues that ought to be investigated. I mean, sometimes when it comes to, on the side of the parents, to, you know, the anxiety to even see your results, particularly when your colleagues' results and other children's results are in. And the fact that mostly, I mean, these days, people are doing a lot of awaiting admissions and applications. They apply even before the results are in. So a lot of times there will be that level of jitteriness, that anxiousness. But mostly, WAEC also may have its own protocols of investigating whatever suspicions. Because if you look at those exams, more practices, we may have more practices, we may have leakages. A lot of times when there are leakages, they are able to put the stopgap. Most times they may even end up cancelling the questions. Okay. But when it comes to the more practices, an allegation of having used form, an allegation of copying, I mean, largely, if you look at also the case of Awuni and WAEC, it's also set more or less a practical and judicial precedent that at every point, you also have to give the parties an opportunity to come and explain themselves or to be heard.
That's actually what happened. They had invited them to come to the regional office. They went there and they were met with silence. So then the agitation started. We are here, you know, deal with us, let us know, clarify what the issue is, and then the altercation is.
Well, I mean, if it was before, if I was in government, I'm sure I would have been on the side of WAEC. But I mean, bottom line is that such processes also needed to be treated with a matter of urgency, particularly when you are balancing the anxiety and the jitteriness of people. Yeah. And so we can only call on WAEC to, as a matter of urgency, also speed up and fast track that process. Because at the end of the day, if also WAEC takes any decision on those suspicions or allegations without also having had opportunity to hear them, now everybody just walks into the court and say, under the principle of national justice, you did not give me opportunity to be heard. But I mean, certainly that does not also mean that WAEC internal processes or protocols should also be jettisoned. So we can only hope and call on WAEC to fast track those investigative or internal process. But I mean, a lot of times it takes some few weeks or sometimes even a month due to sometimes I mean due to the space of the investigation or the pace of the investigation. Then at the end of the day, they are able to release the results. So we can be hopeful that they are able to do their investigations on time and release. But of course, I mean, we are also calling on calm on parents so that at the end of the day they can go through the process.
No, Ben, go ahead. I was going to move on.
A quick one, though, but if WAEC did invite them to come and do whatever, and there was no move from WAEC to, I mean, that also means, if you invite me and I come and see you and you are not telling me anything for maybe hours, it's a bit of an insult or something of the sort. I'm not... WAEC must go through its processes, nothing about don't go through the processes. But if at the same time, if you've not invited me, I have no warrant to come to you. But if I've come to you and you are not telling me anything, that is also problematic, especially considering the anxiety you spoke of. A lot of students, parents are very worried.
Yes, I agree. But I mean, except to say that this is what has been reported.
Yes.
Unless, of course, maybe we are able to hear officially from WAEC, then they also explain their side. Right. It will be quite unbelievable that I invite you to my house and I refuse to speak to you. Yeah. Maybe there could be a bit of delay in terms of addressing them, because I'm sure it probably was not one person. A lot of parents and their children might have been.
Could they have communicated to people? Maybe,
exactly. So I'm sure
we are not ready yet, or something of the sort.
It's probably the miscommunication or some kind of, administrative delay that might have occasioned. But because it's reported, I'm unable to rely on it 100%. But bottom line is that WAEC should, at the end of the day, speed up whatever investigative process so that those...
It's a quick one. The money that was owed WAEC for...
Are you boxing me?
No. I just remembered that. How much of it did you clear before handing over?
I honestly do not have the figures of it. Okay. But if I recall right, I know that about 180 million Ghana cedis has been released to WAEC then. But I'm sure I still have the data on my...
I'm not sure how much was given before the administration left. That's why I'm just...
Yes.
Maybe you would have had an idea.
So I think the arrears were from around 2022 up till even now. But I mean, like, if you have been in the public service, particularly how government works, especially when it comes to its agencies, at every point you will work and subsequently you bring in invoices and be paid. So at every point, there are always arrears. I mean, it doesn't matter which government is in power, but of course, as to the pace of payment is also one other concern. Okay. But I am aware, because there was even an instance where one Sunday we have to be at the workplace, facilitate some checks. Because if you recall, initially the WAEC PRO came out very strong, and I mean, some even unprintable words were even used directly at the minister, but subsequently was withdrawn and also acknowledged payment of certain money. So I probably will have to confirm the figures for you, but significant monies were paid. That is how come they were able to release the results on time.
How do you feel about the debt relief? $2.8 billion debt relief.
For give me my details for the country, right?
Yes, for the country.
I mean, I would take it from the macro level, because at the end of the day, we are aware, and I'll maintain that it's a prophecy that even the former president Akufo-Addo even gave when he alluded to the fact that we know how to bring back the economy, but we do not know how to bring back human life. So essentially, it was an admission that, particularly post-COVID 2020 beyond, the economy was going to have some hiccups. But now, before we left office, if you recall, the Minister for Finance then had indicated that the economy was recovering. And I mean, all figures show. I am not an economic expert, but of course, from the macro level, the indicators and the variables to measure same are there. So
I don't think this is about economic recovery.
No, I
more
mean,
like giving us some breathing space.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
You see, the point is that that's why I'm saying that I'm taking it from the macro point of view. The point is that if you do not have, I mean, a strong trajectory in terms of the economic recovery, certainly nobody is even going to have this arrangement with you. So I'm not, the way you are smiling at me as if I'm doing.
I'm only listening to you.
No, but bottom line is that we agree on principle that if you look at the trajectory, particularly, you may consider or prominent and dominant variables in making a determination about the growth of the economy. Largely, it presupposes that the economy gradually is becoming resilient and all these arrangements can be factored in. I mean, it's good in terms of...
What I'm hearing...
I'm London. It's good for us because most times it gives you that fiscal space to be able to mobilize yourself, subsequently make payment. Because prior to the IMF negotiation, we had a lot of outstanding debts, particularly from within our international partners. IMF conditionalities largely was based on the fact that most of these debts will be deferred. It gives you that fiscal space. So largely, in terms of the economic outlook, it's good for us as a country. But I mean, bottom line is that we'll still have to pay it one day. But we'll be able to have that space to be able to operate.
Just for clarity, are you saying that the work that your administration did laid the Flint Foundation for us to get to this agreement, which gives us the breathing space to restabilize, and then we can talk about recovery and all that? Is that what you're saying?
You want to put me into the headline?
No. I just want you to clarify. You said that
I'm saying that
our books look good by the time you were leaving office, and that is why maybe we arrived at this, sort of relief. So I'm just clarifying.
Well. I mean, it's not really about the credit for my government, but
Right.
I am of the opinion that governance is not an event. At every point is a process, and certainly initiatives, undertakings, and actions obviously has consequential effects and outcome. It cannot be the case that, for instance, you inherit, let's say, an economy or a country, and then within the next 3 days there is doom so, and rationally or reasonably everybody believes that it is you. Certainly they were going to blame the past government. Even when we left and we had provided food for senior high schools, and of course, CHAS had their own...
Wait, you had provided food for senior high schools?
Okay, so I'm going to... You see, when I'm answering you, but I've always maintained that when you want to find out the truth in a claim, one of the tests has always been empirical verifiability, logical consistency. Well, now I'm going to restrict myself to the logical consistency. This administration, it took this administration, I think, 2 weeks, 4 days, before they took food to the schools. The food were only 2 items, maize and rice. Reasonably.
I saw boxes of tinned tomatoes.
The guy, I mean, no, that was a video of a guy who had stolen some. So he presupposes that there were food in the schools. But I'm saying that maize, the one that were transported from the Tama warehouse to the schools, that was only maize and rice. Okay. So the question is, before the maize and rice were sent to the school, first question, what were the students eating? That is one. Secondly, maize and rice itself cannot cook itself. Certainly, you have to complement with other food items before you're able to cook.
Right.
If you look at the free SHS scheme and the food supplies, there are 18 food items. It is not possible that within a period, all 18 food items will just vanish from the school. So certainly, I mean, I have my own opinion, maybe this is on TV, but I mean, I've never trusted Primus, the Charles guy. I am of the view that he plays.
Why though?
No, he plays his politics. You see, there can be genuine issues, genuine concern. I mean, I'm not in government again. There is no point of defending government. But the point is that I do not run away from the fact that there can be genuine instances where there is indeed shortage of certain food items in the school. That's why I mentioned that there are about 18 food items. You may have groundnut shortage. You may have maybe palm oil shortage. But it can never be true, particularly the alarm that he sang and created an impression that parents should bring food. We are talking about 1.3 million students. Are you suggesting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, morning, afternoon, evening, students have not eaten?
But they wanted break, which is why they issued that directive that, hold on, don't reopen
No, they were in school.
Until...
His directive on parents, advising parents to prepare banku and, and rice and bread.
Before school reopened,
yes,
they were on a break.
But to be fair, saying that, like Sweetie is saying, before school could reopen, we heard him talk about the fact that was where, in fact, he made mention of the fact that parents should get ready so that you don't send your ward or your child to school.
So that I can respond well.
Your child to school without adequate, provisions for food. Else,
no, they were. If I recall, there were two statements that he made.
Yes.
One was in relation to the fact that the ministry should not even open school because he felt at the time that there was no adequate school. Indeed. And there was also a second one when, because we're in government then, the school still reopened.
Yes.
And then he made a case that parents should now give food to their students, to their children to come to school. And I'm saying that unless we are suggesting that within that 2 weeks, 4 days period, parents gave adequate supplies of food to their children that was able to sustain them until those 2 food items were dispatched to the school. So reasonably, that's what I'm saying, that we are checking that.
So if we are following the logical reasoning that you are giving, indeed, to a certain extent, it cannot be that there was absolutely nothing. The students had to survive on something.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the adequacy of what was available is also in question, because we've all been in secondary school.
I agree.
There were times where you would run shortages here, and you would have to take an alternative supplement just to keep body and soul together.
I agree. In terms of the adequacy, I perfectly agree. Because even whilst we're in government, at no point will you have food that can sustain you mostly beyond even 3 weeks. Because the food supply arrangement has always been a continuous process. The point is that most of the schools don't even have adequate storage facilities. So you have a lot of suppliers, like I indicated, 18 food items. This week somebody is sending beans to the school. Another day this person is sending, this supplier is sending A or B or C, D food. So at every point, there can be genuine instances where you can predict that within the coming days, there's going to be. So that's why I'm saying that he should have situated his comment within that context.
So fair point. I want us to make progress in the papers, but a quick follow-up. So on the bit about suppliers, the video you were referencing, where you see someone who food destined for a school in the Volta region, I believe, and then it had been waylaid, sidelined for something else. About how much to what extent would you say the former education ministry and the government was able to deal with that situation? Because we hear stories all the time. It is a very rampant issue. Matrons and others, items meant for the school, for children to eat. And you can't really study if you've not eaten well. Then people will divert them and sell them and put the money in their pockets. To what extent did you deal with that? Briefly, and then we'll get into it.
In terms of, purely, if you ask me, is a purely criminal act.
Yes, but what systems were put in place to prevent people from...
So you see, most of these crimes that happens are very organized. It is not as though, your suppliers will not send food to the school. But the supplier sends it, invoices are recorded, claims are made at the level of buffer stock or the Ministry of Education for payment, but at your blind side. Well, because it's a crime, certainly people will not come and make an arrangement that you see. So most times you may find a Beza, you may find a storekeeper, you may find a BCD.
A matron.
Yes, most of them. Our approach has been more of a deterrent. Usually there's some level of indictment. At the end of the day, we are also able to ask them to step aside. Then most times we give to the relevant state institution to really look at it.
Where the relevant state institution is what?
Because there's criminal issues, certainly it should be the police. Or the
I just wanted clarity.
Most times that has been the approach. But outside that, the preventive measure has always been that we've made it a point that it is not only one person in the school who signs for the receipt of the food. Mostly has to go through about 3 or 4 people. So assistant headmaster will sign, matron will sign, just to create a system where there will be a bit of openness and transparency. Because if you are going to give it to one person, that is where you are able to compromise that person. Right. So we had such an arrangement.
But that will be it for my paper then. So let's get to the daily.
Shall we get into your paper?
Oh.
You have the same story about the debt restructuring.
Yeah, I have 2025 Africa Prosperity Dialogues open today. Free senior high school benefits 3.9 million, not 5.1 million. Minister for Education, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu. Debt restructuring, I'm sure we've discussed it. Ghana gains 2.8 billion. And then Rose Ministry audit debt. Yeah, dollars, yeah. It's important.
It's important.
And then Rose Ministry audits debt owed contractors. And then I think the final on the Daily Graphic homepage, the final story is the Minister of Works designate outlines plans to develop sectors.
Sometimes there are interesting stories on the back page. Maybe you want to
see
see
just a quick one, yeah. On the back page, I have Nungwa livestock breeding lands under siege. I mean, just our land tenure system issue in terms of the maladministration. I'm also seeing Upper West Region Fire Command embarks on night market patrols. Of course,
I think that's interesting. On the back of the market fires.
Market fires. So, I mean, these are the stories that I have here, unless, of course, I get your instruction to go through other stories. But for now, these are the stories that...
Anyone piques your interest?
I mean, because I'm coming from the Ministry of Education, if I run away from the free SHS one...
We'll still bring you there.
Yeah, I know. I'm very much aware. That's why when I saw it, I said, wow, this story is...
It's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. But I mean, it wasn't an area that I wanted to discuss. I needed certain clearances first. But of course, I mean, because I have my speaking notes here, I mean, it's something that we can put into the public. Free SHS benefits are 3.9 million, not 5.1 million. Yes, the story is true. It's something that I confirm. But of course, I think the context is also very important. I mean, the explanation in regards to it. First of all, it is important to state that if you look at our time at the Ministry of Education, and why are you so excited?
Oh, I can't smile. I'm not even looking at you. I'm looking at you. I'm smiling.
We're having a conversation and
I was looking at my phone and smiling.
You've got the breaking news. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Former PRO for the Ministry of Education confirms that free SHS benefited 3.9 million and not 5.1 million.
Yes,
that's not even why I'm smiling, by the way.
Yes, I mean, I'll be in the headline very soon and I'll be receiving calls. I mean, there was an advanced strategy in addressing this, but it's just that I happen to be sitting here and
it's okay.
I'm getting an opportunity to respond to it. So let me say that the perceived discrepancy in the numbers under the free SHS program. First of all, I mean, yesterday I was going through some documents. First of all, I think it first found expression in the 2024 budget, media budget review statement, and then subsequently in the 2024 main budget statement, and then I think also in the final State of Nation address delivered by the president.
Was it someone's error?
Yeah. So I am measured in calling it error per se. From the Ministry of Education perspective, who can call it error? Because for all our documentations and records, we have always been using the enrollment numbers. At the Ministry of Education, you can never lie, because if a number of people have enrolled, you cannot change those numbers. Yeah. But you see, Ministry of Finance has been doing financial reporting. And for their financial reporting purposes, they use more or less the cumulative budgetary approach instead of, for instance, relying on the nominal numbers.
Right.
So if, for instance, in 2017, when the free SHS policy was launched, if you were in first year, for their budgetary purposes, they will count you as a beneficiary because of the monies that they release to you.
Yeah.
Right.
You go to a second year, they will still count you as a beneficiary because they are paying for you also in the second year. You go to third year, they will still count you as a beneficiary. So one person per Ministry of Finance budgetary technique for the purpose of releasing money will count one person three times. Because for them, they've released money for such a beneficiary 3 times. Right. That was what found expression in the 2024 budget. And also, of course, I mean, I understand, and of course, I'll admit it's an error. Because at the end of the day, it also found itself in the president's last State of Nation address, which also became a national
Because
issue.
this had even been fact-checked. I've given these
Yes,
about two or three times already.
Yes,
And
but
the
if you
numbers were
use the,
simply
yes,
not
if you use
adding
the
up to
enrollment
that.
figures, you see the reason why it couldn't have been deliberate, maybe even from the side of the Ministry of Education, is that the Ministry of Education has provided the enrollment figure, which is, I mean, a statement of fact within the public space that 2017, this number of students enrolled, 2018, this number of students enrolled. So those figures are there. And let me put on record, at no point has the Ministry of Education stated 5.7 million anywhere. The Ministry of Education has never mentioned that figure in any of our official correspondence, in any of our data, whether you go to the ministry's platform, because we use the enrollment figures. So when you go to the enrollment figures, up to just last year, those who just went to school, the October data, you are going to find this 3.9 million or so.
So why did the Education Ministry not make the relevant corrections? Because the last fact check I saw even places the number at 3.135 million.
Yes,
beneficiaries.
Yes, so
why knowing that it was...
I understand. That's what I'm saying, that you cannot even call this error simpliciter. Looking at where it emanated from, right, and for the purposes that it was being used for. That it was used for their own financial... They relied on their own financial accounting technique, okay, where for the purpose of budgetary allocations, they will count each individual 3 times for the number of times that monies have been released for such a beneficiary.
But
right,
so was there no chance where the Ministry of Education could have come in to say, yes, this is what might have happened, but the correct figure is actually 3 point something?
No, that's what I'm saying. That what happened is not an error. So you don't go and correct it. Of course, for purpose of clarification, particularly when it comes up like this, within the context of Ministry of Finance and their budgetary technique or their budgetary approach, there was no error in what they did, because for them, they will, anytime they release money to you, they will count you. But from us, at the Ministry, so it depends on which data you rely on. At the Ministry of Education, we have always maintained the enrollment figures. And of course, the cumulative effect of the enrollment figures will give you around this time, boy, 3.9 million.
Let's make tracks. Let's get into other stories. But it's good we've had you on today explaining some of these education. Interestingly, today we are talking of WAEC, we are talking so it's good we had you on today to delve into some of these.
Yes. So, I mean, when you do your headlines, don't say, we never lied. We never lied. It's Finance Ministry who did their own thing.
Don't worry.
We found expression in the budget. Ministry of Education have never...
Any other stories you want to look at?
Just one more maybe, and then we can...
Oh, which other story again? Maybe I'll look at the fire, Upper West Region Fire Command embarks on 9th market patrols. I think it's good, because if you look at how these fires start, largely the reports that we are getting has always been that it comes mostly during the night. Yeah. And people are even suspecting arson attacks and those things, because, I mean, it can also be coincidence that the consistent and accurate fire attacks, it can also be...
These are practically always happening at night.
Yes, and it looks too streamlined, even from the layman's point of view. From this market, tomorrow is supposed to be the next market. And I'm not sure it is the case that the market women enjoy so much fire that for them they will just do that. So clearly, we don't only have to be seeing ourselves as talking. We have to be proactive. And I commend them that it shouldn't only be the Upper West region. Beyond the Upper West region, I'm sure other regional police commands and, of course, this state should also be a bit proactive, particularly in Greater Accra.
Yeah, I was about to mention.
Yeah. The president directed that they should be patrolling all major markets. That is when they ushered us into this new year with fires at Kantamanto. There was someone in the northern region and all that. So I think they're just...
we had Alex King Nate join us in the studio and say that, in fact, even before the president's directive, they had been contemplating doing this. But it's a logistical problem. You know that.
Oh, I mean,
the fire service is heavily... There are regions without, even one...
Yeah, tenders, even, some regions.
One fire tenders.
I mean, like, most important thing is that it's a step in the right direction. Other places should... Like, I mean, you said it's even a directive from the president. Yes. So most times you have no option, unless, of course, there are other operational and logistical constraints. Because for me, it is unacceptable that at every point we may have to have these instances attacks on innocent market women.
All right.
Maybe I agree minister to petition oral committee. You know me, I've been an anti-oral person. I saw it. I have an interest. Unless, of course, maybe.
Share your thoughts.
Well, I have always maintained that when we are establishing frameworks or existing frameworks, whilst we may be, I mean, the euphoria surrounding it in terms of the willingness and the energy and the alacrity to even fight corruption, we must also balance it to fix it within the framework of the law. Because I have always maintained that, first of all, from the base, from the grunum, when something is not good, then it defeats the whole purpose of even the establishment in the first place. And my argument on the ORA has always been that, first of all, when the president was then president-elect, at that time when he formed ORA, he was just a private citizen. And a private citizen, of course, you may educate me. I don't want to sound very affirmative, so you quote me for another thing. I'm saying that as a private citizen, do you have the capacity to exercise and undertake activities that establish bodies that purpose to hold some executive powers as a private citizen? If you are to go by that logic, then I can just get up.
What are you calling executive powers?
So,
because as far as we know, they don't have prosecutorial powers. They are only gathering information. So what are you calling
within which framework? Because it came from the president-elect then. But if you look at the nature of their work, it exemplifies more or less they having an executive authority where they can.
So it exemplifies something like
something like that.
EI.
There was no
There was no executive instrument, so it couldn't have been executive. There was no legislative instrument, so it couldn't. Parliament hadn't done anything in respect of that. Could it have been that yes, the party had won, and the party had made a promise, mind you, to recover all loot, and the party had formed this group, whether as part of the transitional initiatives or not, that look, these people.
We want you to start. The facts are there.
No, relax. We want you to start gathering information. We are well aware. We want you to start gathering information on this. Does that flout any judicial principles, any legislative principles?
No, I am saying that. I'm saying that first of all, you have to have capacity before you can bring into an existence such a body, particularly when the nature of the work of the body is more or less a bit public or have a public interest. As soon as the nature of such a body has a public interest, certainly it has to be situated within a certain framework of the law. Other than that, what would be the legal basis? Today, even those people themselves gathering information, nobody is in terms of their security, there is no framework. In terms of privacy of such information that they've gathered, there is no framework to protect it. My argument is that if you want to fight corruption, you don't come from, a place where it looks so targeted and unreal. If you want to fight corruption genuinely, there have to be a more comprehensive and detailed approach of fighting it, not necessarily anchored on some prejudices and some assumptions and perceptions that the successive government or elements in the successive government had committed any wrong, has looted. Now, they should bring data and come and tell us how many recoveries they've been able to make. Okay, beyond the politically exposed individual, what about the civil servants who may probably have collaborated with those politically exposed persons? Because I work in the Ministry of Education. Any crime or any issue of corruption cannot be committed by one person. Mostly, it has to be organized. So if the logic is that you are recovering all loot, what also happens to the civil servants? Fighting corruption has to be very comprehensive. It has to be detailed. It does not just have to be looking faces, just, doing something to represent something. Because at the end of the day...
that's the same argument they're making.
In
fact, I remember we spoke to the former Deputy Attorney General, and he said the reason why so many cases we've not seen a conclusion of so many cases because of the lack of evidence, right? And if we want to fight corruption, like you said, we can't just hang anyone without actually getting the evidence to back the claim that they've caused, some financial loss to the state or whatever. This committee is set up so that they can gather what will qualify as evidence. So they're gathering information, they're verifying the information, and then they'll hand it over to the actual bodies that can prosecute. Can investigate.
You see, the point is that the point is that there are relevant state institutions which already have the mandate to do same.
But there are some inadequacies,
which
is why we don't have the evidence
so
to prosecute.
you think that ORA is more stronger in terms of structure and legal framework than, let's say, let's say the Ghana Police Service. Is that the logic?
I don't think that is the logic in any way. But on
ORA
the other hand,
is just a populist duplication of agencies and institutions, just jet or anchored on
Should I
information
call UKK? Have you been called KK before?
Yeah, my father is called
While you can look at whatever populist element may have come to it. In Nigeria, for example, I have seen some things that seem to be populist, but in the end, they delivered some results, right? So you can step aside from the populism. Yes, a party, someone could call Free SHS populist. You made the promise, so you had to. Yeah, that's okay. But the point is, what are we going to achieve from it? I'm looking at the end of oral, not just the beginning. And of course, you mentioned state institutions. We had an interaction with Alfred Tuan-Yeboah.
Yes.
The deputy once. He's my friend.
Former deputy agent.
Yeah. Former.
He's a friend too. He's my friend too, and my former classmate. Right? And we had conversations about even prosecutions.
Yes.
And how sometimes the prosecutors from, the Ghana Police Service may not exactly be able to come forward with what you need. He made reference to Ahmed Hussein Swale and some of the other things. You ask yourself, there's IOCO, there's a Ghana Police Service, there are all of these things. There's the OSP and all of that. Some still say some things are not going well and we need, so it's neither here nor there. It's not so much of, someone is saying because they are not well.
Benjamin, I maintain.
You maintain,
if state institutions are not working, you strengthen them. You strengthen them, you don't duplicate them. I'm saying that if state institutions are not working, you strengthen them, you don't duplicate them. That's my point. Because, what happens when ORA is also not working? I mean, I am an anti-OSP because I am of the view that when there are existing structures already constitutionally provided, you have to strengthen them. I am a believer that state institutions must be strengthened. I am a believer that private persons who hold public influence must be strengthened. And of course, we build systems that can also inure to benefit in terms of development and governance. But when you go and establish institutions, just duplicating them to appear as though it's working. See, let us call ORA now. Now Kujetu is busy, they are all lobbying for appointments, and we think they are going to gather with information. And you see,
they've presented over 700 petitions to the presidency. They've received and handed over, from the last count, over 700 petitions.
As for petitions, I'm coming. No, let me land. Let me respond. As for petitions, you can give a million or millions of them. As at now, if you go to AG, the dockets that are assessed on their fast, I'm not sure they'll be able to count.
For the sake of time, we have to move on. But what do you think quickly about this? Since you are talking about, because the OSP is like an ombudsman, right? Do you think the Ministry of Justice should be decoupled from the Attorney General so that the Attorney General does proper work for government, the Ministry of Justice serves the people? Just a quick response. What's your take on that? Because it veers into the conversation we're having.
Yes, I believe in that.
It should be decoupled.
Yeah, it should be decoupled.
All right.
You know me, I'm against constitutional review. But this is the only review that...
You're against constitutional review?
Yes.
Like no review at all?
I mean, I am of the view that the Constitution already gives processes for amending concerns or provisions that you believe that we should probably...
AKA in Parliament?
Even the entrenched and non-entrenched, entrenched 290, non-entrenched 291. So I don't think we have to go fishing for problems. And I've always maintained that our Constitution is one of the best in the world. Because for me, if we are initiating a review and the purpose or the motive is that is to fast-track development and make our Constitution a developmental document rather than a political document, my conviction is one, Now, when it comes to development, it has more to do with leadership and the political will.
Okay,
when President Mahama promised lean government, of course, me, I don't believe it, but at least on the optics and the face of it, he appears to be, at least for his ministers, the Constitution forced him to appoint 60 ministers. It's not leadership.
Okay,
so me, I've never believed it.
But that's the only review that Constitutional Review Commission, Professor Tuguba and his team and the way
I think that's
now
there was 2010 one
and others.
There was the 2010 one. There was the one set up by Honorable Chairman Sabos, but that was the ministerial level.
Yeah.
And this very
now HKC Prempe is also the latest.
Let's see how it goes.
Let me just leave you with headlines from the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Angela List asserts role in BCM leadership. President returns home from 3-nation visit. Ghana official creditors.
I want to find out which flight did you use.
Pardon me.
Which flight did you use? It's important too.
Oh, this time he used
the president.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because his safety is paramount to all of us.
But Jata, they said it was being fueled by.
No, it doesn't matter. It's not sustainable. So if I become a president one day, my brother doesn't have a jet, what will I do?
Okay.
So we have to get.
Maybe by that time I have a jet and you can.
Well, anyway.
Bakavoma renders unreserved apology to Appointments Committee. There's also restore hope to cocoa sector. That's according to farmers, and Bledi traditional authority hands for person responsible for burning portions of Afajato. I'll just summarize. So this Afajato issue, someone went and burnt portions of the mountain range vegetation, and they have some rules against that dating back to the 90s, 1998 to be specific. So they are on a manhunt for the person. Apparently, it was in respect of charcoal burning. Then cocoa farmers in the Huni Valley Cocoa District of the Western Region have expressed support for the new government and expressed the belief it would restore hope to one of Ghana's key contributors to GDP. And they are talking about more help for cocoa farmers. But you know, there's something interesting, which tomorrow I'll bring through in my blunt thoughts as well. Cocoa production has really taken a hit, and it shows its tentacles in different ways. But while we've done that, gold seems to have appreciated quite a bit, and it appears you lose here, you gain there. But it's something we'll get into.
Yes.
Any final thoughts?
I mean, I'll just end on your last headline. I mean, on this. The balance between the gold and the cocoa. I think it all has its own role that it plays particularly in holding the economy. But I wanted us to issue a disclaimer that it is in no way suggested that this government should be fixated so much on gold and end up going to do galamsey. Your own journalist, Erastus, has called them out.
All right.
When we were there, a higher measure and a higher standard was on us. We are hoping that they do same. The fact that we're raising gold,
we have to go. I have to do something quickly. Thank you very much. Someone just alerted me to this. I saw a Facebook. Please watch out for AI and deep fake. There's another video someone just sent to me on Facebook where I am giving the news, and there's there's talk of a car bomb explosion with one Dr. Maduku. All of that is false. Please watch out. Be careful what content you take up. And it's another thing we'll be reporting from here on Facebook. It's rife nowadays. Happy birthday to the love of my life. Not me. Happy birthday to the love of my life, Mrs. Dorcas Jumo Ajiman, Assistant Superintendent of Immigration at the Kotoka International Airport. And he ends, have a good one, Bay. Okay. So happy birthday to you, Dorcas Jumo Ajiman. And it's from your husband, Kwame Jumo Ajiman. Sweetie?
Yes, that ends the news review segment on the AM show. But stay, Haruna Mubarak serves you AM Sports. Kwesi Kwarteng is former PRO for the Ministry of Education. Thank you so much for joining us. Sports comes up next.